You said something about you said something about agreement. Agreement. If there is no agreement, there is no authority over anyone. We all agree for something to be, and I want to think that without the agreement that there is God, that there is a God who rules over one, there will be no consciousness of sin. And I want to think that where there is no consciousness of sin, there is no guilt. And so the God idea, belief in the God idea, is what creates guilt in many people. So, what would you say about that in relation with the Ollies?
Well, again, creation is like a big Rubik's Cube. You know, you keep twisting the little blocks to here, to there, whatever. And even when you figured it out, what do you got? You just got this little block. That's it. Again, someone has to mute here. Yeah, as soon as you come on, please mute. And so the idea, as we see it, you know, what was prior to all these ideas? It's very simple. You look to that, but people don't go all the way back, which is right here and now. In other words, before all these ideas were created, sin, salvation, all these things, what was there before that? Which is all here and now. All life is an isness. And so we've decided to create these things, is what we've decided to do, and gotten ourselves caught up in these things because this is part of what we're here for. And it's all okay. It really is. Because it can always be resolved, you might say, recognized and resolved here and now. But yet the situations that are created in the world keep going. So let's say we invented the spaceships, the rocket ships, the planes that do chemtrails. Well, we invented those things, and at the time, it was cool. Hey, we had a good life. We made a lot of money. Now, all of a sudden, we're waking up to the fact that these things are not good for the all-natural environment, as an example. But yet, you know, even though we recognize this, they're still going, aren't they? And so the sin idea and all these things, too, as they were created, they're continually perpetuated. Again, it's an aspect of control. So whether there's God or sin or all these things, these are created ideas to keep people confused and controlled, no matter what they are. And so this is where I know it takes a few minutes, and this is why I decided the projects, because again, we have these 5 bodies, and especially the physical one, and if we don't have something to do, we get bored. And so once we've recognized that, oh, okay, well, this is all illusion, and I really don't need this anymore. Well, actually, no. Now you're just starting out. You really do need it. And there's a lot more to see. You see, there is always a lot more to see that you're not seeing. It's not like, oh, I see it. I'm the higher initiate. I've attained this consciousness, and you know what? I don't need the earth anymore. No, you're not seeing it at all. This is where you're just starting to get ready. It's kind of like Chris going through boot camp. Once he's went through that time and all that hell, and all of a sudden he's become the soldier, what does he do? Say, oh, you know what? Now I know what it's like being a soldier. I don't need it anymore. I'll just go AWL. I'll quit. No, that becomes the starting point. All these lifetimes that you've gone through this and up to this point right here to recognize this is where you start. You're not going or leaving to anywhere. You're here to face all this until whatever, okay? I cannot say. It's going to be different for each person, but it keeps going on and on and on, you see. So again, we have our ideas of our personal physical life. Fine, you can have whatever you want. But if you really want to stand real and have real freedom, well, then you must face everything until the moment you really do have it, more so than just the ideas of it. So again, all these ideas play upon themselves, Charles. Again, it's a literal world. You're an educator. I would say it's hardest for you to see the literalization of the world because it's hardest for us to see ourselves. I get it. And just like Paul said, it's harder for intellects to get this because just like science, which the Indians didn't have 200 years ago, but now all of a sudden we have science and technology, do we really need this? It's a road to where? Nowhere, except self-destruction. But yet certain people are trying to make it into something it's not. And that is that it's bigger than life itself. Oh, we've outfigured the gods, and we're the know-it-alls, etc. Well, and then life on Earth keeps getting worse because of the scientific applications, right? Like Monsanto and the fake food and all this, just as an idea, and etc., etc. It's not getting better, but in our literal minds, we're thinking this. So again, there must be something else that can be seen and implemented, and that's the challenge. But most people just, what they do is like what I'm presenting, they just listen. They maybe do a few things, the new you, but they don't really do it. They don't really step up. Again, it's like Chris being the soldier. He was prepared to do that. Now you go out and be the soldier. It's 100%. It's not like you're going to run home every night to your wife and watch TV. No, you're out there. You're in the wilderness, and you got to deal with it. But the best part is that with this, you're in this endlessness once you recognize it, but you got to get there to recognize that aspect. So again, all these ideas that are coming up, Charles, are of a literal sense, and especially, again, if any connotation to anything traditional, okay, is absolute control here. There is an absolute here, and that is the agreement of control, because creation is absolute control. It is nothing else until you recognize it for what it is. And this is very, very interesting. And the individual can only allow their own personal and real freedom to happen. It's not about begging the guides. It's like teachers in school. You can beg your teachers in school for your degree. But are they going to give you your degree? No, you have to earn your degree. You have to recognize how to earn your own degree, don't you? And the same with this. Again, Paul was the babysitter. All the masters and gurus and whoever were babysitters of the past. Now it's in a real position to where you can absolutely be free of all of it. You don't need any nonsense at all. But then again, Most people want to be controlled, they want to be restricted, and they want to use the old ideas as their pivoting point. And guess what? It won't work. I don't care how good the idea, or it's like, oh, I'm a good person, I do good things, etc. I have a family, I have a good job, whatever. That's all fine. It all equals nothing. It really will equal nothing. And I'm not saying to abandon it, but until you recognize what is real, it's not going to mean anything because it hasn't for lifetimes. And you're still doing it. So what else is there? Yes. This is the fun part. That becomes the best part. But you must see it. Yes. And you must constantly take the risk to see it. Even it's like groping in the dark. But you can learn to see it while you're groping in the dark, Again, it's there. And this is what's so cool about it. This is where no one else recognized it. That's why the boys picked me. That's why I stepped up, because I could see it. And I see it more so. And you help activate that, actually, Charles. You help activate that. You and everybody else. I see how this works. You are necessary, you see? You're very necessary. Everybody is necessary. And this is what's the cool thing about life is that as you have the courage to realistically present this, okay, and just like when I was with Paul, I presented it as it was. I wasn't making up a bunch of foo-foo or funny words, okay? I was out there doing it as Paul had presented it at that time. Now I'm doing it according to what I see with the real guides and what is shown to me from the all is. It is a shown aspect. That is the communication. It's not a talking thing. It's a showing. It's a demonstration. And then I must, in turn, recognize it and present it in some particular way. This becomes my adventure. You see, I've decided this adventure. This is what's so cool. And it's always new every moment, seeing it new now. This is what's so cool. So again, yes, the past can be a good reference, but it's nothing to pivot off of. It doesn't work. It will go nowhere. This is where most people fail with this because they don't have the courage to see it. They really don't. So they play around with old ideas and their intellectualism and their self-satisfying life here. Well, that's fine. That's not a put down. You can have it. You decide where you stand. And usually the personal self comes first because we've been with the personal self so many lifetimes. It's very important to us, all the relationships and whatever. And again, you can have it all, but there's a way to see it to where it works for everybody and no one is restricted, but you must learn to recognize that. So all these old ideas, Charles, most of them, if not all of them, actually all of them basically, they deal with ritualism, sacrifices, restrictions, etc. And so it's how do you take that? It's like recycling. How do you take those old beer cans and turn them into a solar panel? You see? It's kind of like that, to where there's a benefit to where you are utilizing what already is available. This isness. It's so cool. Yes, thank you for asking, Charles, because again, now you see the bigger picture, and that is, why are we doing this? Why are we presenting this? Is it just for the knowledge? No, because as each person begins to wake up and recognize the true reality life is, the isness it is, that becomes a benefit, a real and true benefit for everybody, more so than anything personally and physically, to where eventually all this just becomes, it's like a solid fog now, but eventually the sun shines and it all melts, and all of a sudden there's just your real awareness in you. And you're, in the literal sense, you're thinking, well, gee, that sounds boring. What else is there? Well, until you really see it, then you don't, because actually this is boring. All of it is useless and boring. It's like old diapers. And this is the thing is, we've been in these old diapers a long time. But when you see and recognize the real universes for what exactly they are, you see that it's endless. It's every moment is a new nowness, and it's awesome. And this is where you bring your emotions into it as an enthusiasm because, wow, I have discovered this. And it's not about going out and controlling others with the love idea. It's like, oh, gee, I just love everything. Okay, fine, you can do that, but lots of times that's just control. I've seen that too. Whatever. Anybody can have whatever they want. This is exceptional. To recognize this, stand real with it, with the real guides. That's all I'm doing. I'm just doing what they're doing. And I don't do it perfectly. I'm not perfect here. Yeah, sometimes they're shaking their finger at me. It's like, no, 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 we don't want that. And sometimes they're applauding me. It's like, oh, that's really cool. I go back and forth too, because again, this is creation. You got the ebb and flow, and it's just like the surf. I got high tides, low tides, I got swells, I got wind. You got all these variables, with that aspect, and anything too. So again, the adventure is to stick with it, see what's next and new. Those of you that have tried the new you, they see that it works. It does. There is a connection. Something's going on there. But the true reality of life is, it's endless and huge. So how is it then in a few moments or a year or 5 years or whatever that you're going to know this? You're never going to know it. You're never going to know what it truly is. Never, because it's endless. That's the best part. But the best part to understand is that you can supersede creation altogether, and you no longer have to be the effect of anything. I would say that's really cool. Instead of just being in a better, good part of the prison in the matrix, like on the astral realm where you're in the paradise or the heavenly abode with the angels and whatever, have fun with that one, because you're just going to reincarnate with all of them unconsciously, because you got to get out of creation altogether. And how do you do that? So yes, thank you. You're, by the very fact you're here, Charles, and activate this, well, it allows me to present it so people do listen and have this advantage. Because as they wake up, I get to recognize their wake up also, and that's I get to be part of that. Yes, it's very important. So yes, me too. I'm I'm on my adventure with this to better recognize the isness itself. Yes, go ahead.